Hey, I appreciate y'all tapping into this episode of Do Your Homework. We're finally getting into the debates. This is going to be a quick one on episode one. Just so you guys know, as we go through this, I am actually not at all going to mention Asa Hutchinson or Mike Pence from here on out. Their campaigns were useless. They were just old white men versions of Nikki Haley. And why have an old white man do something that you can have a younger woman who is technically an Indian American immigrant do for you instead? She checks more boxes. The use of identity politics is something we're going to get into more as we get into debates 3 and 4 because she uses it heavily. Heavily, actually, she uses it in this one, and we'll talk about that here in a second. I almost completely forgot about that, but yeah, she's knee deep in the identity politics. She tries to claim to stand against it. We cut through the bullshit here. Do your homework. So without further ado, I'm going to start by talking about Doug Burgum, who I think has been the most underrated candidate here in this first debate. I thought he went crazy, especially when he was talking about the energy policies and the legislative agenda of the Biden administration. He he dubbed the Inflation Creation Act, which is effectively a subsidy for China. What we're doing is we're, instead of buying oil from OPEC, in the Middle East, we're going to subsidize lithium batteries that are made from China, that are made using supply chains that are run on oil and gas that they get from, guess where? Russia, because Russian oil is 20% off because we've sanctioned the Russians. And they need somewhere for that oil to go. You can't just stop those oil pipelines. That's not how those things work. It's not like a water faucet. You just turn on and off. It's got to flow, especially the Trans-Siberian one, because in the wintertime, that bitch will freeze. So they're getting Russian oil 20% off, and they're getting their lithium batteries subsidized by Joe Biden. Who's shocked to see that, though? I mean, Joe Biden doesn't run the country. Somebody who's making a shit ton of money in the Chinese market and the U.S. market, for that matter, is telling him exactly what to do, and it doesn't work for you or for me. And I thought he was great in pointing that out. And what we've done actually is make their energy supply chain shorter. So instead of getting most of their oil from Iran, which has to go around the Indian Peninsula, which is dangerous for them, they can just get it straight from overland from the Russians. Now, typically, the Russians wouldn't do that. The Russians would sell their oil to the Germans, or they'd sell their oil to the British or the French, where they would prefer to do business. Okay, the Muscovite Rus, the people in Moscow right now, do not see themselves as Asian. They don't want to be in alliances with fucking Asians. I don't know how else to say that other than to just put it flatly. They want to do business with the West and with Europeans and, their descendants here in the Americas. They don't want to do business with the Chinese. Plus, we have more to offer than the Chinese. Point blank period. But we'll get into that later. I think his response on Ukraine kind of did him in, because he is pro-Ukraine. I think if he actually really wanted to get more of that voter base, and actually stand a chance in this race, then he had to come down from Ukraine. Because again, if you're going to support a Ukrainian war hawk, you might as well support Nikki Haley. That's just kind of how this whole thing went down. And so all the people who would have supported Doug Burgum, all the people who would have supported Asa Hutchinson, all the people who would have supported Mike Pence, they found their 2024 identity politic neocon, Nikki Haley. And we'll get into her here in just a second. I want to talk about Ron DeSantis really quick. I thought he did all right. I think he takes a lot of his points from Vivek because he doesn't really have any national policies that he can come into his own on. I think he just sort of tries to take what he does in Florida and then scale it as much as it can be scaled, and then he kind of borrows things from everybody else. I think he needs to stay in Florida. He's doing a great job down there. Don't get it twisted. I think he'll be the governor there until he decides to step down. But he should take a step back and endorse somebody. I don't care. As long as it's not Nikki Haley, I don't give a shit who it is. But he did a good job speaking positively about getting rid of the Department of Education, prioritizing our border over the Ukrainian border, saying that the Europeans need to do more for their own continent, which no shit. But here's the thing about Europe, guys. Take it from somebody who studied it. They are constantly at war. Constantly at war. Whether we get involved or not, they're going to fight each other. Okay, the best thing for us and our military industrial complex is just to wait for the next war to happen and sell both sides weapons. Who gives a shit at that point? Like, there's no point in us dying for it. That's not going to help anything. Like, if we're going to make a if you believe that a war economy is good and that you can make money mass producing weapons, that's fine. Just do it for someone else. Okay? Just and don't fund it. Don't just give them shit. That's the other thing that doesn't make sense to me. All right, let's get back on topic. Nikki Haley, this is where she began, her warhawk like you stance on Ukraine. Believes that they're all tied together as if, the equipment you send to the Ukraine is somehow going to help save Taiwan. I don't understand how that makes any sense. Let me put it to you like this. Every missile that you give to the Ukraine is a missile that you cannot put in Taiwan. And those things are expensive. Okay? So every weapon, every bullet, every bandage, every dollar sent to the Ukraine is not protecting Taiwan. Okay? Don't let them. If anything, Russia's like, not Russia, if anything, China's looking at the situation and saying, okay, let's hope they bleed a little bit more assets and then bleed some more assets and then bleed some more assets. Because while we're hemorrhaging money in Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, Ukraine, Israel, pick your war of the month here, what is China doing? Stacking, chilling, stacking, chilling, stacking, waiting on their opportunity because they know you're draining yourself. And so people like Nikki Haley who sit here and say, oh, well, you're going to make America less safe. You don't have any foreign policy experience. Bitch, you don't know opportunity cost. You can't add. Fuck. Do you understand? We cannot fund a war while we're $33 trillion in debt. We cannot fight the Chinese when we depend on the Chinese to make our weapons. Let me know how that works, Nikki, please. It doesn't make any sense. She thinks we can fight wars in Europe, Asia, and Mexico all at the same time. I've heard of a 2-front war. I've never seen a 3-front war. That's one you lose. That is one you lose. 10 times out of 10. You lose 2-front wars most of the time. Most of the time. Unless you're a massive, continental-sized country with unlimited supplies and resources and is untouchable by your enemies, i.e. the United States in 1941, then you can do it. But that's a very special case. And even then, a 3-front war is not ideal. It was during this debate that she also misrepresented a lot of Vivek's foreign policy, saying that he wants to, quote, give Taiwan to the Chinese. Nikki, last I checked, your entire establishment already recognizes Taiwan as Chinese. So from your perspective, you can't give them anything because they already own it. At least Vivek has the dick and balls to say, hey, Taiwan's its own country. Okay, and we will defend Taiwan. She won't even do that. She won't. If you ask Nikki Haley straight up today, is Taiwan a sovereign nation? She'll say, well, being from the UN, that's a really complicated blah, 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 blah. Word salad of absolutely the fuck nothing. Absolutely, because she can't give you a straight answer. She can't. She adopts the one China policy. Okay, one China policy says there's one Chinese government. They don't recognize the government in Taiwan. And so, for somebody who won't even recognize the government in Taiwan to criticize Vivek's stance against defending it or drawing a hard line in the sand that we will defend it up until we are semiconductor independent, at which point we resume the current posture. So she's mad that he wants to uptick the current posture and then down it back once we get semiconductor dependent. And then she's like, oh, well, at that point, you'll just give Taiwan at that point, what use will Taiwan be to me anyway? Why should I die in a Chinese civil war? You're not going to go die over there. And these people, it's funny. Her and Chris Christie are the last two people that are going to go over there and fight Putin or fight Iran or fight China. They're the last two that are going to go do it. But they'll volunteer me. They'll volunteer you. They'll volunteer your money, not their money, because they're going to make money, right? They're going to make money off their defense contracts. It's stupid, guys. It's crazy. Now let's get into Vivek. During the first debate, During the lead up to it, he had gained a lot of momentum. He was in second place firmly after this debate. I mean, he was in third place firmly after this debate. He was in second place firmly, as evidenced by some polls we'll get into here in a second. He was killing it, man. Killing it. I'll probably get into it in the next episode. I'll talk about the lead up to the second, the lead up to the second debate, then the second debate. Then I'll talk about the lead up to the third debate. The third debate, going from there with this series. But he basically laid out his foreign policy position, sparred with Nikki Haley. She really shrilled and yelled like a 15-year-old girl while he was trying to discuss his position on Israel, which she misrepresented as, you want to just cut aid to Israel. That's not what he said. He said that if Israel ever decided they didn't need it anymore, that would be a good thing, which is good. We're not a fucking charity. Okay? We are a nation. Those tax dollars are built for the good of the nation. And then she actually went on to say that America needs Israel. Oh, if we need Israel, why the fuck isn't Israel paying us? Why are we paying them? Let me know how that makes sense. And last I checked, Nikki Haley, Israel did not exist before 1948. The United States Constitution has been ratified since 1789. So almost 200 full years. I don't need Israel. They're cool. I'm glad they're there. I think they have a right to exist. I need them? No, that's some narrative pushing bullshit. I'm not buying it. Let's keep going. Again, Vivek, like I said, he dominated, reaffirmed his position to shut down the Department of Education, which drew huge applause. I thought that was awesome. He went in there. He spoke his 10 truths in his closing statement. I thought it was his best closing statement by far. And you could tell that in this first debate, they weren't paying attention of who was in the. It was a much larger crowd. First of all, it was a much more public crowd. It wasn't like an exclusive event like the other three were, and they did that on purpose. Trust me, they did that. They clearly did it on purpose, and you could tell in the next three debates why they did that on purpose, to get Nikki's donors in there, because Vivek doesn't have donors. He doesn't have high net worth people that are given to his campaign that are going to pay for exclusive fundraising tickets, whatever the fuck they say to get people on there. He's not that dude. So he has some people there. I think that each campaign gets some tickets. So you can tell he has some of his people there, but you can tell that they're stacking the box against him in the next three debates, which I thought was funny. But again, he dominated the first debate, absolutely dominated it. I even watched, I was looking at a poll. Let me see if I can pull it up for you guys. They said Vivek won the debate, and everybody we polled said, most of the people we polled said Vivek won the debate, but he didn't get an uptick in our polling. But Nikki Haley did. And it's like, okay, I know why. You have too many people on your stuff who, even though you had some people who did, and maybe his numbers went up a little bit, you had way too many people who didn't, who watched the news, who heard, you have no foreign policy experience, and it shows. She does have foreign policy experience, and it shows. We can fight war everywhere, all the time, in debt, doesn't matter. Fuck it, as long as she gets a check, right? Makes absolutely no sense. All right, I got a little long-winded there. In the next episode, we will get into debate number 2. I thought, again, Doug Burgum made some awesome points. He went toe-to-toe with Nikki Haley on healthcare, which was amazing. Basically said, you failed to answer the question, which she did. But we'll get into that next time. Thank y'all for tapping in. That episode will both these episodes are going to come out Tuesday. Let's see what that is, December 12th. And then we'll probably have episodes 3 and 4 for the third and fourth debate come out on Wednesday. And then this Thursday, I will be doing my follow-on episode of The Ideal State and Aristotle's Politics. I'm really looking forward to that one. It's going to be a deep and juicy conversation. I think you guys are going to love it. But thanks, you guys, for tapping in. Until next time.